Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm Maya, founding engineer at 14 AI.
Good morning. I'm Marie, co-founder and CEO at 14 AI.
I'll say good evening. I'm in London, and I'm Kelly, one of the co-founders at Kairos Studio.
And good afternoon over here from Miami. I'm Kelly as well, another co-founder of Kairos Studio.
And today we are excited to present our workshop From Prototype to Production, Deploying Support Agents with Confidence. And today we're going to cover everything you need to launch AI agents with confidence. So we're going to be talking about deployment milestones, real-world integration tips, monitoring tools that help teams avoid hidden failure modes. And then we're also going to wrap up with a live Q&A with the Kairos team to highlight their lessons and learnings from working with real-world deployments. And before we get started, feel free to share in the chat where you're calling from and your favorite season.
Maya, where are you calling from and what's your favorite season?
So I'm calling from San Francisco, and I would have to say my favorite season is late spring.
Nice. And one of the Kellys?
I'll give a slightly curveball answer and say my favorite season is Leo season because my birthday is tomorrow and I'm a Leo. So yes, all Leos say their favorite season is Leo season.
That's a good one.
Happy birthday for tomorrow. And
I'm
you,
calling
Kelly?
from Miami, and my favorite season is summer, but maybe not a Miami summer, but definitely not a San Francisco summer either, somewhere in between.
Mm. And I'm also calling from San Francisco and for like Maya. And my favorite season is also summer because I'm also Leo. My birthday is next week.
Oh, nice.
Amazing, yes.
Lots of
Birthday season too. Mhm.
Great. In the chat, we have people from New York, from SF, people like fall, all seasons, a lot of summer, some winter. So, yeah.
awesome. We have a healthy variety. So wanted to share our agenda for today. So first, we're going to be talking about why launching is its own skill. So understanding the gap between prototype and production readiness. Then we're going to go through our 4-phase checklist. So sharing a systematic approach to deployment preparation. And then we're going to talk about evals and QA beyond just it runs. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Kairos and the founder's perspective. So some real world insights from our AI implementation experts. And then we're going to wrap up with a Q&A with Kairos. So it's going to be an interactive discussion on launch challenges, solutions, and a lot more. So first, why is launching its own skill? So first of all, prototype does not equal production. So development environments, they lack real-world constraints, different user variability, and scale demands that production systems must handle. And we're going to wrap up with a Q&A with Kairos. So it's going to be an interactive discussion on launch. Give me one moment, please. Oh. Oh, sorry, give me one moment. Gonna go right back. Okay. Sorry about this. Yes, and there are new, let's see. There's new failure surface areas, so production means real integrations, network hiccups, and unforeseen edge cases. Also, it's important to have trust, not just functionality. So people need to trust the agent. That means it has to be clear, reliable, and fail gracefully. And also post-launch debugging complexity. So, different issues in production involve real user data and time-sensitive resolution requirements. So here are the 4 phases of launch readiness that we'd like to discuss today. So first, in terms of prototype readiness, this is where you'll define your scope, establish data sources and validate core functionality with representative inputs. Then there's also the testing and evaluation process, so implementing comprehensive testing frameworks and covering edge cases and automated regression detection. And then there's deployment readiness, so establishing logging, security boundaries, escalation paths, and permission frameworks. And then post-launch monitoring, so what happens after you launch? How are you going to deploy dashboards? What kind of feedback loops are you going to incorporate? And also, when things go wrong, are there rollback mechanisms for continuous improvement? So first, in terms of prototype readiness, it's really important to have clear agent scope. So defining precisely what your agent handles, what it defers to humans, and what triggers escalation. So ambiguous boundaries can lead to user frustration and different system failures. So knowing how to handle that. Also, establishing your defined source of truth, so establishing authoritative data sources and access patterns. So your agent needs to have reliable and up-to-date information from systems like your CRM, your ticketing data, or internal databases. And then in terms of real world testing, it's really important to move beyond, cherry picked examples to actual representative user inputs that you've gotten. So testing with actual customer questions that have typos, ambiguous requests, and, questions with multiple parts that can reflect production complexity and reality. And in terms of testing and evaluation, so it's important to do manual QA on core and edge cases, so validating agent responses across happy paths and also different boundary conditions and edge cases that might come up. Of course, it's, you can't anticipate 100%, but ensuring good coverage can put you in a better position. And then also automated evals for QA, so implementing automated testing for response quality, regression detection when you make changes to the agent, and also coverage analysis. So these should run on every major update so your team has a good understanding of how your agent is behaving. And then human in the loop flow. So designing workflows for uncertain or high-risk responses where human reviewers can intervene before certain actions are taken, especially for actions like financial that contain financial or sensitive operations. And then in terms of logging and escalation, so it's really important to have comprehensive logging that logs user inputs, agent responses, different tool calls, decisions and errors to understand what happens and what happens when things go wrong, and also how to improve over time. And then it's also really important to have clear escalation paths for the user. So when the agent is unsure or it fails, users should be able to easily escalate to support via ticket triggers, fallback buttons, or auto routing with full context passed along to the support team so they can assist. And then a little bit about security and permissions. So in terms of security boundaries, agents should only access the data and tools that they need, nothing more. So using isolation and strict interfaces to prevent accidental overreach or data leaks is important. And then having scope permissions. So action limits such as refund caps that the agent can do, data access boundaries, and also different constraints. So these guardrails can, prevent pretty costly mistakes while also maintaining the effectiveness of your agent. And these are very important in situations like financial transactions, when it modifies data, or when it has access to external APIs. And then in terms of post-launch monitoring, so this is, when you actually launch, how can you monitor that things are going well? How can you spot failures? So having real-time dashboards where you can track usage patterns, failure modes, confidence scores, different model version performance. So, and you can also monitor key metrics like user satisfaction, and also escalation rates to identify when issues are happening. It's also really important to have a continuous feedback loop. So this is where you can connect different, collect different signals from users, from human reviewers, and system logs. And this is how you can really improve the performance and reliability of your system over time. And also, it's important to have robust rollback plans when things go wrong. So, you know, how can you, what are you going to do when things go wrong? Do you have a fallback agent? It's really important to make it easy to switch to a stable version within minutes if you notice something going wrong. And also, we wanted to touch about why evals matter. So what are they? So they're scenario-based tests of real behavior that go far beyond basic functionality checks. So these are your quality gate between development and production deployment. So what can evals do? They can help detect regression across agent versions. So, they can help automatically catch when changes to the system prompt break previously working behavior, for example. It's essential for keeping your agent consistent as things evolve. And then also for performance tracking over time. So these metrics can, catch drifts or potential declines in accuracy, speed, or effectiveness of the agent in answering user queries. And then also these can help with measuring user-facing success. So moving beyond technical metrics to business outcomes, does your agent actually resolve user problems effectively and efficiently? So yeah, so evals are really important for moving beyond does it run to does it actually resolve user queries. So these can help bridge the gap between a technical demo and a production system that actually delivers value.
Thanks, Maya. My name is Kelly. I'm one of the co-founders at Kairos Studio. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of highlights about what we do here at Kairos. We work with operations teams who are ready to successfully integrate AI. And at Kairos Studio, we really believe that an AI-first workplace should empower the humans alongside improving business outcomes. So our approach creates confident change in that direction. The ways that we work with companies are twofold. First, we do AI readiness. Whether that's a workshop where we work with your team to explore how and where AI can make their jobs more efficient and enjoyable, or a more comprehensive AI readiness strategy where we really dive in and use our AI discovery and direction framework to see exactly where your organization's current processes can use AI to drive real value. And then for those teams that maybe have already figured that part out, we can work with you on AI optimizations. We bring confidence and focus in a sprint where we help actually integrate AI and AI best practices to things like your content management base and customer experience. And then our most embedded approach would be fractional AI leadership, where we actually embed ourselves in your team to move AI initiatives forward. So that's a little bit of a taste of the kind of work that we do at Kairos.
Amazing.
So now we're going to transition to our Q&A section. So this is going to be a discussion on, different AI agent launch challenges, implementation strategies, and much more from the Kairos team.
Great. First question. What was both of your journey starting Kairos together? And also, it's amazing to have two Kellys as co-founders.
Yeah. No, I'll take this one. So yes, we are the Kellys. You don't have to distinguish surnames or anything like that. But founding Kairos really came quite naturally to us. It wasn't something that, I know there's co-founder stories of interviews and all of this stuff getting matched. We met working at Uber a decade ago, and we interacted there a bit, but really we each went on, did our own thing for a good 5 years. But we both started consulting around the same time, so around COVID times. And so that's how we came back together. I actually ended up coaching. I'm a coach as well. So I coached Kelly for a bit as she was joining the consulting world just a bit after me. So we got to know each other really well, right? Like coaching sessions go deep. And this is how we really knew that we had shared values, we love work-life balance. We really sort of see impact as critical to what we do, not just the work we do, but how we do it. And yeah, we do similar work, yet we have complementary skill sets. So yeah, our real vision is I think the more unique piece of it, and we hope to create more value-driven work for other women that are looking to leave the corporate world behind and have this more, let's call it, flexible work life that comes with its pros and cons. So we're looking to reduce the cons and improve the pros for everybody. So yeah.
Thank you. So our next question is about readiness signals for an AI launch. So when you're helping a company kick off an AI initiative, what signals do you look for to determine if they're truly ready for the launch, not just experimentation?
Yeah, it's a good question because a lot of teams come to us and think that they're ready for the implementation part, and we have to kind of take a look and see, like, well, did you get the AI readiness part yet? So the pieces that we look for at a high level are their process. So just understanding, is it well defined, documented? And then the last one is like, is it relatively stable? We work with a lot of startups, so we know that things change and that's fine. But if it's sort of chaotic or constantly changing, it's probably not the best process to implement with any kind of AI automation yet. The next thing that we look for is the knowledge management. So as we all know, AI is only as good as the knowledge that you feed it. So when it comes to customer support knowledge management, the content and the upkeep of that content is key. As you update your knowledge management systems, the AI ingests that and gets better over time. And it also performs best when there's a certain type of structure. So AI-friendly language, the headings, and the keywords to maximize its accuracy. And then the last piece that it's a little harder to tell until you kind of dive into a company is the change in culture readiness. So usually, it's coming from the top. Leadership is usually pretty bought in on the AI transformation. But we also assess the managers and folks on the front line, like what's the temperature check for them as well, so that we can make sure that they are ambassadors of this change as well and not kind of nervous or scared about it. We want everyone to embrace the change that's coming.
Great. And the next question, how do you recommend teams define the scope of an AI agent early on?
Unmute myself. Yes, another really good one. I think what we've seen is that I think people are really optimistic about AI, right? It's like AI can solve all my problems. And yet really, just let AI solve one really well, right, to start. So the first sort of point here is to start narrow and very, very specific. It's, if you've worked with, let's say, even custom GPTs, you have to be very specific to get the GPT to do exactly what you want. It's the same thing with an AI agent, right? In a customer service context. So, pick a single high volume task that is very clearly defined, as kind of referenced by Kelly in the previous answer, and don't say handle all customer inquiries around this. You say route queries with this specific subset, and don't answer them yet, right? Just do the routing, because that in and of itself would be very beneficial for the company and the efficiency. And that's something that our team doesn't enjoy doing, right? So yeah, they'd rather spend the time with the customers, not routing the tickets. The second sort of thing is related but unique as well, is to define AI specific and focused success metrics upfront. So instead of going the route of saying improve customer satisfaction, because that is what we think will happen given the response times are improved, instead we want to say the AI agent will resolve 70% of billing requests without human interaction, right? That's a very specific and measurable thing about the AI's job and role. And then the last thing is actually map the exception cases, right? So it's almost, well, what does the AI agent need to do, and what will it probably get wrong, and how should it handle that? So this is, again, getting into scope, what's in scope and what's out of scope, and really knowing what humans should still touch, even with an AI agent present.
Great. And we have a first question from the audience. Do you have any guidance on the best practices to embed this new AI agent within the customer support experience? Is there a particular format people enjoy more, or one that is frustrating people?
I mean, I'll input if the person who asked this wants to clarify as I'm going, let me know. But my initial instinct here is what people enjoy is an accurate and easy to work with agent, right? So not one that sends you in loops and loops and loops. So this is where starting simple and specific, the AI agent, if it's a little chat widget or whatever it is, it answers 2 types of questions. That's it. And for everything else, it says, oh, I don't handle that. Let me put you in touch with a human. That's a great experience versus being put through some 10 layers of questioning to then get popped out to a human. So I think it's actually start specific, start small, and only add in the things that will be a great experience in that regard, and avoid the infinite loop with the agent.
And then one thing that I would add that I think people don't think about as much is the value of your AI agent for your internal team as well. So areas that maybe you're not quite ready to automate that are customer facing, using your AI agent to surface updated knowledge base information or information that your team doesn't just need to memorize. That'll help them answer questions more accurately and quickly, and they're not waiting on Slack for someone to respond to a question about, I don't know, some new product update, and they're not sure how to troubleshoot it. So I think having a good experience with AI for your internal team helps as well, and helps get them to be ambassadors of this this AI transformation.
Thank you. So our next question is about avoiding scope creep. So what are the best ways to avoid scope creep or unclear expectations?
Oh yeah, we deal with this one a lot because like everyone just says, hey, let's like automate everything, and we have to come in and set the right expectations about like what is AI actually good at right now, and also what is your internal company, what's the lay of the land internally that's going to set you up for success with AI. So the number one thing is use existing documentation. So both, we talked about your knowledge base already, but also looking at past tickets. That's a really low risk way to look at not only, reporting and issue type documentation, but also to test your AI before you roll it out to live tickets as well. So using your existing tickets to create, to understand where you need to create more knowledge-based articles, but also to test the AI before you roll it out. And be really, really clear about what you're not going to do. This is probably like the number one thing that we have to repeat over and over when we work with clients, is reminding them what was not in scope and why. It doesn't mean that it can't be in scope later, but for now, this is what we're focused on. And maybe it's because we're just not comfortable yet with AI doing this task. The process is changing too much. It's too chaotic. But just being really clear about that and communicating it over and over again. And then, of course, using a phased rollout. So break the implementation out into different phases, clearly communicate what's in each phase. So maybe it's your more straightforward, how to use this product stuff first, and then later it's a certain type of billing question, but not all of them. But just be really clear to everyone as often as possible about the phases. And then kind of doubling down on that, it's the communication. So this is probably true of any kind of change management, but it's super important with AI. So regularly checking in with stakeholders, weekly at least, and reminding them of the progress and maybe some of the recent wins as well. We like to use a format called the 3 Ws: wins, warnings, and watch this space. Those warnings are where we need help, or we need opinions from folks, or we're stuck on something. So it's a really good way for us to flag not only what's been done, but the areas that we need the team's help.
Mm. Great. And we have another question from the audience. Do you have any recommendations for creating eval sets? And what are the challenges you often see with eval sets and creating them?
I'll jump in with this one. Unless if Maya wants to speak to anything technical on the sort of I think of this as like acceptance criteria from product management, right? And the approach I have rather than any specific one, right? Like this is the universal approach for me is what are the variables that the AI needs to work through, right? So within the problem space you're trying to solve, let's say billing, right? This is a simple one. What are the things that are going to be changing throughout different interactions? And then actually go through and make a big Excel sheet to say, you know, these variables have these values and which ones are going to be the most common. And then test as many as you can before going live, right? Like I've made spreadsheets with like 130 acceptance criteria, and I'm like, I don't need to test all 130. Let's test the top 20% and feel confident in those. So yeah, I think, you know, challenges is that it's a very it's a very methodical and tedious thing to do right in some ways, but it really does pay off when your launch goes smoothly and you don't have to stress rollback or any of that, in my opinion. So yeah.
Thank you. So you have helped companies implement AI across logistics, support, and operations. What's the biggest misconceptions leaders have when launching their first AI ops initiative?
This is another great one. I'll jump in for this one, Kelly. And yeah, I mean, the first one is the one that we hear, the fear mongering that we hear is like AI is going to replace our team. Especially in this day and age, that's not really what's happening. What's happening is you're augmenting and enhancing human capabilities rather than replacing them. So, you know, it has huge advantages and is able to serve your internal team just as much as it, I guess, automates aspect of the internal team. Yeah, that being said, we do know that it will replace some jobs. And so in some of the engagements we work on, we actually focus on upskilling folks to be able to, I guess, usher in the new era of AI, feeling more confident that they're growing as well alongside AI becoming more intelligent. The second big misconception, I think, is we can skip the training phase. We can just jump straight into being live with AI and underestimating the time it takes to really train both your team and the agent, right? People know they have to train the agent, but they forget they have to train the team. And this is probably a few month-long process when it's the first initiative, because it is truly a cultural change and human behavior takes a long time to change, whereas AI behavior can be quite quick. And the last thing I would say here is, you know, there's this misconception that it should work perfectly on day one. The way to overcome that is to really reduce scope, as we've said, to start with one thing and do it really well and have 99% accuracy, you know, have that eval criteria and do it properly. So you build your confidence, your team's confidence, and then you can expand from there.
Thank you.
Our next question is about identifying high leverage automation opportunities. So, what's your process for identifying the highest leverage business processes to automate or augment with AI?
Yeah, it's a good one. That's yeah, because we usually get clients that are like, here's all the things that we want to automate, and then we have to look at that and process it and help guide them to see where they're gonna, what's actually the most successful thing to automate to start at least. So the way that we do that is like a volume complexity analysis. So we map out tasks and processes, how often they happen, and how much expertise they require. So the high volume, low complexity tasks, whether it's routing or any kind of customer support inquiry that does not require someone to look up PII or like details about that human, personal details about them, those are the best starting points. So we map everything also so that visually folks can see why we're automating certain things to start. And then that also gives the team some internal work to see all the stuff that we're kind of deprioritizing for now, like what's the path to getting that ready to automate. Next, I would say data. We look for the processes where teams are already collecting structured data, where things are organized so that's easier for AI to access that information. So you're probably already tracking some metrics like response time, sentiment scores, et cetera. And so we look at that to figure out like where's what processes have the most data that's going to be easier for AI to ingest. And then we also just talk to the people, right? It's not all about systems and machines and AI. So we do some reverse shadowing. We talk to folks and really understand where the repetitive tasks are, the energy draining tasks, and also understanding what decisions they're making in their head for some of these processes as well. And those ones that they're able to explain to us really clearly how they make their decisions, those are also prime for automation as well.
Thank you.
What do you wish more product or ops leaders knew before they decide to pilot an AI tool?
All of these make me laugh as we're going. I love the in quotes, right? Because I feel like that's quite an easy way to say, like, let's just see what happens, which, you know, that is sort of how we work with OpenAI or Claude or whatever it is, right? We just play with AI. And yet when it's in a business context, that's not always the best approach. So I think the first thing is to really define your success criteria. We've seen pilots run indefinitely because people aren't aware of what success is. And again, setting expectations and communicating them broadly is key, so everybody knows when the pilot would be done. And that can be a low impact to say, like, we've seen, a 3% bump in X metric, and that's success, therefore we're rolling it out and seeing what happens more broadly. I think the second big one is really thinking about what full deployment looks like. And there's a lot of aspects to this, financial, etc. But the biggest one we see people miss is maintaining from a human resource perspective. So the jobs of people need to change to support the AI agent. And I think that's something that leaders are starting to slowly wrap their head around, but it's something that requires almost constant change management. And then the third thing I would say is, start your pilot, start your testing as internal facing as you can, dog food where possible. A lot of times employees are customers of your product as well. So test with those people if you can. And that could be a sufficient pilot to rolling out, right? So, if not, then your proper pilot, your true pilot is actually improved from the dog food version. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Now we have a question on avoiding premature optimization. So have you seen teams overinvest in infrastructure or tooling too early? And, what should be lean versus built out from day one?
Yeah, we see like both sides of the spectrum. We have people that they're like, we know we need to be using AI. We feel like we're behind. What do we do? And then this side of it where they maybe have overinvested and tried something and it didn't work for whatever reason. The most common things that we see here are not starting with the right criteria. So that's where we come in and we kind of help translate their business needs into a criteria. And then when for customer support, for example, we will then assess external tools against it, what fits your company's need the most. We also sometimes do that for buy versus build decisions. So we have teams that are like, we've got this product team ready to go. We think we can do this on our own. And we'll help them assess that decision versus what's already on the market. And is that maybe easier to plug in and save your product and engineering resources for something else? And we always suggest a leaner approach. So starting with the existing tools as much as you can, and then building upon it. There's a lot of AI plugins that come with maybe your existing help desk or CRM. But sometimes there are some that are your existing product is maybe trying to catch up to AI, and it does make sense to change. And from day one, monitor your feedback loops. So make sure that you're using systems that have some sort of log history tracking that you can check the systems and see from the start how they're performing. You want to see what's working and what's breaking in real time to iterate effectively. And then the over investment trap, as we call it. Most teams don't need to train their own models. So you can start with these pre-built solutions and then fine tune them from there. Custom AI deployment should really only happen after you've explored what's on the shelves. It's less risky that way. It's usually less of an investment as well. And these companies have many customers, and they're getting the feedback real time of what's going wrong, what customers want. And so they're able to usually make product updates faster than your internal team can. And I will say that's especially true for customer support. You've got companies like 14AI that have an AI first approach, and they probably are ahead of the game than where your internal team is starting.
Thank you. So that concludes our Q&A section, but if anybody has, any other questions, feel free to add them in the chat and we'll get to them. Any lingering thoughts, feel free to add them in the chat as well. But looking ahead, so for today's workshop, we walk through what it takes to move from an AI support agent prototype to real-world deployment, covering readiness checklists and evals and beyond. And then now it's your turn. So, think about a recent support task in your org. What tools did it require? Could any of it be automated or streamlined through an agent? Take some time to think about that this week, and also given what we discussed during this workshop as well. And then stay tuned for our workshop next Wednesday. So we're going to be discussing advanced knowledge bases for support agents. So join us as we explore how to design robust, queryable knowledge systems that AI agents can rely on. And if you found today helpful, you're definitely going to want to join us next week. And yeah, if you have any lingering questions, feel free to ask them right now. We'll answer your specific deployment related questions. And also you can learn more about Kairos and also read our deployment guide. So we'll send you a link to the Kairos guide and our full blog post recapping this workshop. So that will include our deployment checklist, design principles, and practical tips for testing and monitoring agents in production. And as always, feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear your feedback or questions about deployment strategies, these emails right here. And thank you so much for joining our workshop today, and we hope to see you next week. And of course, a huge thank you to the Kairos team for joining us today. It was great to learn about your experience.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
See you guys.
Thank